Welcome to Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I'm a board-certified music therapist, author, and expert on how to use music to relieve stress fast. This podcast is sponsored by McConnell Music Therapy Services, Inc., where they believe in the power of music to transform people and communities. Based in Northern California, their board-certified music therapists support people of all ages and abilities within hospitals, schools, corporations, and communities using music experience to connect, express, and de-stress. Visit them at mcconnellmts.com or their Facebook page, McConnell Music Therapy. This episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold is also sponsored by Dr. Nisi, trainer and certifier of master and executive coaches, because she believes every person, every relationship, every business, and your finances should be extraordinary. Find out more about Dr. Nisi Moore and the Life Coaching Institute at www.drnisi.com. That's DRNEECIE.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. It's so great to be with you. I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever heard the phrase, "We went to different schools together"? It's a phrase to describe someone who maybe traveled a similar life path as you. Well, today's interview is amazing because Ryan Judd and I actually did go to the same school together, but we didn't know each other at the time. Then, we traveled similar life journeys in that we're both music therapy business owners who write and record relaxation music as well. Now, to include me in that last line is generous. While my journey into recording my relaxation music is a product of lockdown, Ryan Judd has been at it for a bit longer, and he's an absolute inspiration to me, despite him always being an underclassman to me. Ha ha ha. Ryan is actually a Billboard chart-topping recording artist and is an internationally known music therapist. Ryan's recordings have been streamed more than 10 million times during the past 2 years. He's an accomplished fingerstyle guitarist and is committed to making beautiful music that inspires well-being. Ryan is deeply influenced by guitarist Michael Hedges. When Ryan first saw Michael Hedges play, he was overwhelmed by emotion and knew that he had discovered something that would forever change the course of his life, and you'll hear about that in the interview. Ryan has spent decades dedicating himself to mastering fingerstyle guitar and creating his own unique style as a performer and a composer. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation about the journey and the art of crafting relaxing music by two old classmates. And I'll see you on the other side. Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. It is so great to have you with us.
It's great to be here, man.
Yeah. So you and I have multiple common roads traveled. And so let's just kind of start there. And I'm really curious. So for those who don't know, Ryan and I both went to the same high school and back in Connecticut, back in the 20th century. And I'm really curious, where did your musical journey start? Because at the time when I was at prep, I was singing, but I was just teaching myself guitar, didn't know what I was doing. And certainly didn't really, know anybody else who was playing guitar too much at the time. So to kind of tell me, where did it all start?
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer, man. I mean, I noodled around with guitar when I'd go to a friend's house in high school and, played
Sure.
Iron Man and, classic riffs like that. But that was about it. And then college, I had a beat up old guitar that my dad gave me. I had it in my dorm room. Again, I just kind of noodled, never took anything seriously. And then I think it was senior year in college, I saw a video of Michael Hedges playing at Red Rocks. Michael Hedges is just crazy, amazing, two-hand tapping, fingerstyle, instrumental guitarist. And it was one of those mind-blowing soul explosion experiences where you like a whole body feels like it's on fire and you just have this burning desire to achieve that someday. It actually made me really emotional in the moment, and I just knew, wow, this is something I need to dedicate myself to. And so that was kind of the moment where I'm like, I got to start taking this seriously. I got to find some great teachers. I got to start practicing hours a day. Like, it's time. And so, although I was a late bloomer, I felt like I had the maturity and the drive and the discipline to really pick up steam quickly with learning the art and the craft.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really neat that you had such a singular moment where you were literally like lit, just turned on, like on fire, like ding, light bulb, go.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
was
then,
special. It was really special. And there was one other moment too where I was listening to some fingerstyle guitar, and I just had another one of those experiences, and it was just kind of confirmed, like, all right, this is definitely a huge part of your path. And for me too, like in high school, being a boy at this all boys prep school where it was all about sports and masculinity, and the only way I could like open my heart and cry and let shit out was to put on some really somber instrumental sad music, and that's what allowed my heart to open and allowed me to express and release so many of those pent up emotions that we all experience as an adolescent.
that's really interesting. So if I hear you correctly, like in the listening of someone else's instrumental music, you were able to release the energy and emotion inside of you.
Yes.
That's fascinating because like no words required by the artist or by the listener.
Totally. And I feel like that was one of those pivotal moments too, where I look back and it's like, oh yeah, instrumental music. And of course, as music therapists, that's what we use so much of in working on releasing anxiety and stress and getting into deep states of relaxation, because the words tend to activate your frontal lobes and you're thinking about it. And it's like, it takes you out of your heart and into your brain. And so I think that's one of the beauties of instrumental music is it's so abstract. You can put whatever your own experience is onto the music and let it touch you on those deep soulful levels.
That's really great. Really, really, really good point about how the lyrics can actually pull your like consciousness up, like upregulate you when you're really trying to downregulate. Because I never really thought of it that way, and I've always been drawn to instrumental music, and listen to like progressive and then EDM, a lot of dance music, and vocal is more of the voice as instrument, but not about text. But it's always been for me about creating this place or space, head space, body space, just this space, almost like a 3D place that I could sit in and just kind of marinate and let out and let in anything that needs to go out, anything that wants to come in. And it wasn't so much process oriented. It wasn't so much like this, then this, then this. It was just this kind of this simultaneous state that instrumental music provides for me. And so that's really cool the way you described that. How then did you find, or when did you find music therapy? Since as music therapists, we got to have our chops to play guitar and to be able to sing and play piano. So how did those two overlap?
So I feel like from some of those pivotal experiences of finding my own emotional release in music,
Yeah.
that combined with my interest in psychology, because I did a bachelor's degree in psychology. I always thought, I always loved working with kids, and I thought, okay, I'll study psychology, and it'll give me the tools to do work with kids. And then, of course, those events happened in college where I found my love of music. And so then it was like, okay, well, how do I combine my love of psychology with my love of music and my passion for working with kids? And I discovered the field of music therapy. And I was just like, oh my God, here we go. This is it. So that was so exciting. And I was fortunate enough to go to this amazing school in Boulder, Colorado called Naropa University, which was founded by a Buddhist monk, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, back in the 60s. And Allen Ginsberg jumped in there. And it was just an amazing history of this school. And it was a combined program in music therapy and transpersonal counseling psychology. And meditation ran throughout the entire curriculum. And we are required for all 3 years to have a meditation class, have a private meditation teacher, go on silent retreats. I mean, it was amazing. It was just an amazing program, amazing experience.
Wow. Well, I'd heard of Naropa, and I'd heard that it was a Buddhist school with a music therapy program, but I didn't realize it had all of that in it. I would have been there myself. That's amazing. So I can see how like the influence of instrumental music as a part of a practice might, kind of ride shotgun along with the clinical, stuff that you're learning as tools. But you're constantly being exposed, in that way. That's really neat. Did you, when you were in school and you were learning guitar along the way, eternal student, was there a point at which you were like, I want to be a recording artist at some point, or this is like part of, as much as part of me as being a music therapist? Like, it seems like the recording artist or the musician, the guitarist, because for me, there's a difference between just wanting to learn to play guitar and then wanting to be a recording artist. Like, there's a lot more that goes into becoming a recording artist, including the process of composing and recording and learning how to do both. When you became a music therapist, were you still like, I want to be a recording artist, or did that kind of go on hold for a while? Did it come back? Tell me that kind of, did they compete? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. I mean, when I was in grad school, I recorded my first album and I was playing gigs, and it was like I had the time and the energy for that piece of my profession. And when I started down the music therapy path and I created my own business, started my own practice right out of grad school, I do feel like the performance and recording took a bit of a step back as I focused all my energy on building my practice. And then we moved out here to New Hampshire from Colorado, and I had to rebuild the entire practice. And then it just kind of grew so big. And then I had this entrepreneurial itch. I just felt like I really wanted to put something out into the world. And I created this whole like DVD, CD, instrument, songbook kit for kids with special needs, and put that out there. And then that kind of followed up with some instrumental stuff to help people sleep, people suffering from insomnia, and then a sleep CD for little babies. When I had a baby, I realized, oh my God, this is what parents go through. I have to do something to help. This is insane. So I did this like lullaby sleep CD. And so very clinical. It was like this cool marriage between my music therapy path and my path as a musician. But then I got to a point where I was just like, okay, man, I want to just create some art, create some music. I want to create some music that I want to listen to myself, just like hanging out. And so I had always wanted to hear fingerstyle guitar and cello. I just always have loved the cello.
Yes.
I found this amazing cellist, Kristen Miller, who's also a sound healer. I mean, just the perfect person to find for this album. And I had all these compositions, and she came on to these beautiful arrangements. And that was An Open Sky, the album that I released in 2018. And that was a pure artistic endeavor. But the cool thing about it is it's a super mellow, relaxing album. And so many people have used it for yoga and meditation and relaxation, and even moms giving birth to it and people dying to it. I mean, it's super intense, some of the emails you get. And it just is so heartwarming to know that you're making a difference with your music, and that even though you didn't intend to put out something clinical, that people are using it in a way that is healing and helpful.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so beautiful. And it's such a great reminder that like we prescribe ourselves music as humans. Like we have situations we find ourselves in, and then we reach for a track, or we reach for an album or a playlist that we need to cope through a life event, you know, and for us as the artists to be the soundtrack of those events, like that was what got me into music therapy. That was what got me, you know, to go back to continue to make music, was that to be the soundtrack. You know, for me, it was like when my dad passed away from hospice, Enya was playing, and it was like having the voice of angels in the room with him. And I just imagined, you know, like if I could provide, if my music could be there in that moment, providing that comfort for that person at that time of their life, sign me up, because God's got 10,000 guys who want to stand on stage and have panties thrown at them. Like, cool, man, right on. I get it. Been there, done that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But like, that's not really for me the highest use of my skills as a musician. And the highest use is really just being in those intimate places alongside of people as they're going through some of life's toughest moments, and kind of almost being like a shock absorber, you know, to their toughest times, you know, our music being there when we can't physically be there, which is, can you kind of describe, like, what was it like for you when you're actually the stages of giving birth to a record? Because as guys, this is really the only, you know, they're really the only personal birthing experience that we can talk about. But can you just kind of talk about for you, like, what is it like from conception to delivery? That's really funny. I didn't really mean to use those two words, but I just did.
That's perfect.
You know, because I think everybody's always kind of curious, like, what it's like for the artists themselves. Like, what didn't you see? You know, you get the package and you listen to the music, but what didn't they experience?
So much, man. All right. So composing the pieces was it was an amazing experience. It was very emotional for me. My muse for the album was this beautiful young girl that I worked with who had brain cancer. She was diagnosed at age 3. I started working with her shortly after. And just, you know, I kind of became part of the family. We had such an amazing connection. The work was so deep, so profound. It really was the best work I've ever done in my life. And then she passed, and that whole experience of like the beauty and joy and honor of working with her, and then the sorrow and the loss of her passing. And I had so much in my heart that needed to come out. And so I would just be composing these pieces, just crying like a baby, like every night. You know, I'd be in my studio just playing, and like, you know, I know it's so freaking cliche, but like teardrops on my guitar, like, wow, over and over and over. It was my therapy that helped me get through some of those emotions and kind of process some of that. I mean, I still feel emotional about just talking about it. So that was a really beautiful part of it. And then it came time to go into the studio to record. For me, I always get scared, man. I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I don't want to screw up. The clock's ticking, the money's flying out the window. Like, that's a pretty intense experience for anyone. So it's something I need to push myself into. It's not like, oh, yay, I'm going to the studio to record. It's like, dude, you got to get this done. Set a date. So then there's going into the studio, and, you know, I use just a home studio of a friend, and he's got a great ear, but his equipment was lacking, and the music was so delicate that after we had recorded the whole album with the session cellist coming in and doing her whole thing, I realized there was this weird background noise thing that we could not get rid of. And I had to scrap the entire thing and find a professional studio. Oh, maybe I should have done that in the first place. A professional studio to go to. And I had to re-record the whole thing. And I had to pay the cellist to come in and re-record all of her parts. So it brought me to my knees, man. It was like a classical entrepreneurial story of like, you know, you put your heart and soul into something, you reach a point where you're just like brought to your knees. And if you can persist, there's just such beauty awaiting for you on the other side. And that's what happened. And I'm so glad I had mentors who just pushed me, said, dude, you got to re-record this thing. And I was like, hell no way. I can't everything I just went through to push myself into recording this thing. Now I got to do it all over. But again, I'm so glad I did it, because then I had no regrets and I felt proud of it. And I was ready to blast it out into the universe and to have all the synchronicity working my way and all these there's the pride and just wanting to have everyone hear it and pushing it out there and being supported by the universe and doing that. So I'm so glad I did it. But so that's a little bit of what it's like to compose and record an album. It's usually not like an easy, seamless process.
Yeah, thank you so much for that whole world. I really appreciate that. There's a lot of great life lessons in there. And particularly the one about like the universe just laughing, like, ha ha ha, you thought that's what it was going to take? Watch this. And you know, so many of us, in whether we're artists or not, anytime we go to really try to accomplish anything in life, we don't have any idea. We don't have any idea what it's really going to take until we get on the court, or, you know, proverbially speaking. And then life comes and goes, ha ha, and it just kind of smacks us around a little. And it's in that moment that the game's really won and lost. And you pointed to one of the like the game changers is mentors. You know, when your expectations, when reality doesn't meet your expectations, you know, that's when you need mentors, because it's the mentors who give it to you straight. And they're the ones who get you back aligned and back on track. And without them, nothing happens. Yeah. Because this is like a great case study, because in 2008, I recorded an entire album. So first time solo guitar vocals, super nervous about my voice. I'd never recorded my voice. Finished the whole record, did not like the sound of the record. And I think there's something for everybody to learn from this, is there's the music, and then there's the sound of the music. And they're two different things. And when you're recording, you want to feel great about both. And if you don't feel great about one of them, it's going to gnaw at you, right? And that's what was gnawing at you, was like the sound of this recording is not where it should be. And your mentors just, you know, like pushed you through that moment. And I remember doing this on my own and not telling anyone I was doing it, because I was really nervous about doing it. And I got totally confronted by the sound, and guess who did not go back and re-record? And that album sits, you know, on a disc, you know, collecting dust to this day. It's never been heard. So I just really want to point out, like, kudos for listening to your mentors, for having mentors, because in our lives, like, as humans, we're just not designed to do this thing alone. We're just, we do it in groups. We always have. And the mentors are the ones who lift us up, and then we get the opportunity to do that to others along the way. And I have this mantra, which is that I lean on you, you lean on me, and we don't keep score.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And that's community. And that's how we get through this whole thing. So I just want to thank you, because the number of people that your music has touched as a result of you dealing with just the crap that you had to deal with, the conversations in your head, you know, it seemed real, you know, like the time and the money, right? It seems real. It's real. Like, this is real, but you pushed through it. And now the number of people, just again, just kind of throw out the numbers, like just how much exposure that record has had since you released it.
Oh man. It's amazing. I look at the numbers and it just kind of makes my jaw drop. It's crazy. Like on Amazon Music alone, it's getting around 1.5 million streams per month. So that's crazy. So yeah, I was on Billboard top 10 for 56 weeks. You know, it's a bestseller on Amazon. It's always in the top 10 with meditation, new age relaxation. Yeah, it's so cool. And just hearing from people is so special. I mean, you know, Amazon reviews are funny, right? You get some doozies. My 4-year-old granddaughter can play better than this. That was a good one. I like that one. That was actually for another album. But anyways, but you know, with An Open Sky, what was so cool is just the love, and with these reviews, you know, I mean, Amazon reviews can be so harsh, and like 98% of them are just all love. And you really hear how people are using it. And that's one cool thing about the music that I've made is it's meant to be used, you know? Yes. Yeah, it's cool. Put it on the background, man. It's chill music. That's great. But when I hear of people using it to do massage, like massage therapists reaching out and yoga teachers who play it for their class, and me just visualizing this class of people like getting into these deeper states of consciousness with my music kind of holding their hand. And that's crazy cool.
That's the best, dude.
It's the best.
That is. Well, congratulations on, just a job well done on that record. And again, just my compliments to the chef, if you will, for all of this, what it took on the back end, that everyone who's enjoying it, well, they'll never know, they just don't know. And so, I just want to really point that out and say thank you on behalf of everybody who's using your music on a daily basis to relax and to de-stress and to get through life's tougher moments. Really great job, brother. Thank you so much for coming on the pod and hanging out. And we will talk to each other again soon.
Sounds good, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I've got a couple of resources for you, which you can find in the show notes or you can listen to right here. So check it out. If you enjoy the sound of my voice and you enjoy the sound of my guitar, imagine them put together. Go to sonicrecovery.com and take your very own relaxation vacation, where I take you out of the stress of the present moment and back in time, to a time when you felt happy, healthy, safe, and sober, and then walk you through that memory so you can bring back those feelings into the challenges you're facing today. So go check that out. It's at sonicrecovery.com. If you're a healthcare worker in recovery, check out the Music in Recovery Self-Care Guide for healthcare professionals that I created just for you. That's at hcp.sonicrecovery.com. And if you're a healthcare worker and you'd like more information about how to help your patients use music, you can check out the Music Medicine Guide that I created just for you at musicmedicineguide.com. Lastly, if you enjoyed the pod and you haven't done it yet, would you just take a minute to rate and review it? It really only takes about 60 seconds, believe it or not, and it would go a long way to help us make more people know just how good this pod is, particularly for healthcare workers and their stress. Thanks again. See you next time.